Hey guys, welcome back. Today I've got a snowblower engine here on my table. It came out of a Cub Cadet Snowblower. It's their power mower engine. Customers wondering if this engine is blown up. So what I'm going to do here is show you the symptoms of why I personally think it's blown up, and then I'm going to take it apart and we'll find out for sure if it is. Okay, here's the engine. It looks pretty good actually. It's the 357cc. Now these are great engines, guys. I have never had one come in the shop blown up. Usually if they come in the shop blown up is because of some kind of neglect. They don't tend to blow up like the Briggs & Stratton ones do on snowblowers. These are actually much better engines. But what I do want to show you here today is how much oil is left in this engine. It's always the first thing I check when an engine comes in and people think it might be blown up. So it's kind of hard to see here. So I'll just re-wipe it, stick it back in the engine and see what levels come up here. Okay, I think I'm getting a better reading now. It's only up to here and it looks like new oil. Typically, your oil should be in between here, at least up to here, up to this little hole. And I went and re-dipped it again in the engine because I wasn't sure if the oil on the serrated area were part of what's in the engine. So this is a proper reading here. It's on the low level, so that's not good. Now here's why I think this engine has an issue. It's not just because the oil is low, but because when I pull it over, it does not feel right. It pulls over as if there's no spark plug in there. I don't feel any compression, and there's a weird noise that you can hear. So what I do when I'm not sure if an engine is blown up or not, I remove the spark plug, and then I'll show you what to check. Now, if you're absolutely sure that the engine is blown up, you don't need to do this step. So what I do with the plug out, I grab a long screwdriver like this, and I'll shove it down the spark plug hole and touch the piston. And what you want to check for is to see if the screwdriver will move when you pull the engine over. Now do this cautiously because if the piston is still moving up and down, it could get jammed. So you want to turn the engine over really slow. So it doesn't look like the piston's going up and down. So what I'll do in this case is take apart this engine. Now if you work on one of these engines, you'll want to have a 10mm socket because most of the bolts have a 10mm head on them. And I'm just going to remove all the covers, get the cylinder head off and the sump cover. Now a large flat screwdriver works good to remove the throttle knob and the choke knob. Now I'll get the carburetor off. And I'll take these off here to get the tank off. Two more on this side. Now I didn't have to remove the fuel tank, but it'll just make it easier to look at the engine. Now I'll take the valve cover off and we'll see if the valves are moving. And here are the valves: exhaust, intake. I'm going to turn the engine over by hand here, and the valves are moving. Now the valves may still move even if the connecting rod is busted. So this does not mean that the engine is still good. The way I'm going to know this is by getting the head off completely. Okay, the whole throttle assembly here should come off. There's a spring holding it. And I might as well take off the coil here. So what I need to do now is get this head off and we'll know exactly what's going on. And I think there's only 4 bolts. Yep. Push rods are nice and straight. On the Briggs engine, sometimes they get bent. Okay guys, here's a moment of truth. I will turn the flywheel by hand. If the piston turns, then the connecting rod's good. If it does not turn, it is broken. Okay, there we go. And it's broken, guys. That's why when I put the screwdriver earlier, it was not moving at all when I was spinning the engine over. So that means that the connecting rod probably snapped because it was run low on oil. What I will do now is get this sump cover off so we can have a look in there. First of all though, I'm going to drain the little bit of oil that's in the engine first. Okay, so I've drained the oil. We've got about half a liter or half a quart here. Now this engine should have approximately 3 times that amount. Now while I was draining the oil, I just noticed here on top of the engine, not all the bird food or mice food, but the crack. See the crack here? That block is cracked right on top, right there. So definitely the connecting rod will be broken when I crack this open. So now I've got to get this pulley off and get all these bolts off here, and this whole cover will come off. Okay, pulleys are not seized, that's great. Now, even though I emptied the oil, there's usually always a bit of oil that comes out. Let's have a look at the sump cover. Bearing here looks very good. But I do see some metal parts inside, all down here. Now look at that rod, it's all in pieces, guys. Look at that. Just look at this, man. This gasket here is still good. Now, if you do know what this part is, just comment below. I do not take these apart that often, guys. Mostly the Briggs. But look at all these pieces. Man. Just totally destroyed. What I think caused it, guys, is how low the oil level was at the beginning, and I think somebody just went and added oil after the fact, after they realized that it was really low, or after it blew up, who knows. But anyway, this engine's toast. The decompressor here is all destroyed as well on the cam. Now, if you had a spare engine, you could probably make 1 out of 2 here, as long as the cylinder is still good. It's got a few nicks over here. The top of the engine, where I showed you the crack, is right here. So it hit the top really hard. And also the journal on the crankshaft is quite rough. Now, since this is a blown engine, I will just pound the shaft to get the flywheel off here. And that came off quite easy. When it's a good engine, I usually use the puller to get the flywheel off. Flywheel's in good shape. Now this here's your stator under the flywheel. This is what provides power to the light of your snowblower and the handlebar heaters. Here's the crankshaft, and here's the damage on the journal. This can be cleaned up with muriatic acid, but it's a process you have to be very careful when you do it. Now what I want to see is the condition of the cylinder. First of all, have a look at the piston here. It's in good shape. A few nicks at the bottom skirt here. But overall, it's not too bad. And have a look in the cylinder. It actually looks good. This here is just dirt. It's all smooth. So if somebody really wanted to, you could save this block by just putting an epoxy glue on top here to seal that, and then getting your other parts. Now, even though you're seeing an engine like this blown up in my shop, it doesn't mean that they're bad engines. I actually like these engines because, as I mentioned previously, they don't blow up as much as the Briggs & Stratton ones do on snowblowers. They usually only blow up when somebody does something wrong or forgets to put oil in it, as you saw today. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and please comment below. Let me know what you think about these power mower engines versus the Briggs & Stratton ones. Have a great day.